everybody. I am actually trying to shoot a set of lectures here, and as per the previous video, I am going to discuss about what are the actual instances which we are going to have when it comes to hardware hacking and things like that. So, guys, let me start the video now. The adventures of hardware hacking. So first and foremost thing, let me introduce myself first. My name is, just a minute, let me keep it here. Never mind, I don't think you guys will be, I will be required to be on the camera for that. So my name is Hrishikesh Somchatwar. I am formerly known as the storytelling hacker, and this is a previous slide. So I was a master student at Eurocom in France. I have been a speaker and trainer at various different conferences across the globe, which includes conferences like B-Sides Delhi, Cocoon, B-Sides Ahmedabad, Hackfest Canada, Def Camp Romania. I've been a couple of times there, and a bunch of others. I have been also a speaker in almost 12 to 13 plus cybersecurity conferences across the globe, and I have also trained in some of these conferences with regards to hacking and things like that. So I have a podcast called as The Storytelling Hacker, which is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and a bunch of other places. And you can also have a look onto my website for that. So, disclaimer, we are going to build a purely hardware hacking lab here. So, no BLE stuff or nothing with regards to wireless. First things first, tools, and teardowns and teardowns. So, what do I actually mean? In this video, I'm going to explain you all of the tools which are actually required. I'm going to explain some of the teardowns, and obviously which it also includes some breaking up and breaking hardware things, and also some of the root shells, like how I was able to pop into some devices, which includes how I was able to hack into devices and get the root shells of it. So here's the agenda. We are going to discuss about how to build a low-cost hardware hacking tools lab, how to use these kind of tools, how these basic hardware attacks can be performed using these set of tools, some of the communication protocols, which does not include a detailed explanation. It only includes some sort of abstract level explanation, which is actually required to understand and hack into these devices. And I'm going to discuss about my failures while hacking hardware with these cheap tools. And since it is an our main focus is to build a low cost hardware hacking tool set of tools, so we are going to discuss about a total cost to bring your own hardware hacking lab, and we are going to discuss about the hardware recon, like what are the information gathering, or in general, I mean, like recon is quite much of a in-depth in-depth type of information gathering, so that kind of stuff as well. So problem, hacking into things is not hard, but finding the right tools is. This has been a problem with every single hardware hacker out there, that they are not able to produce a lot of good hacks because they don't have the right tools. And since they don't have the right tools, they don't know where to buy them. And if they don't know what kind of tools are actually required, then they don't know how to proceed further with their pen test or even their exploration or even a hobbyist project for that matter. So solution is to build your own hardware hacking lab. So let us get started, guys. with the number of tools which are actually required. First is a screwdriver kit. You might have seen in the movie Three Idiots or some other kind of movies that you need different types of screwdrivers, the screwdriver kit, in order to open up devices, open up things, and do a lot of pen test level work with it. So, a screwdriver with magnetic drivers is the most important thing which to have. So, the thing of magnetic drivers is when you actually observe these kind of screwdrivers, these are quite different from the ones which have magnetic drivers on them. The reason is one of them has magnetic field on it. Since it has a magnetic field, it gets easier for one to use those set of it gets easier to unscrew these devices, and it gets easier for one to open up the set of tools and try to do some different kinds of pen test activities with those. Because first rule of hardware hacking is to open up the device. That is the single most important procedure while doing the pen test. Next is multimeter. You need to do something with regards to this is with regards to the conductivity test, which also means continuity tests. So I'm going to guide you guys further on how you will be able to find some serial level ports to do some continuity tests and try to figure out the which kind of pin or which kind of pin can be shorted and soldered to get a UART or root cell or even different kinds of vulnerabilities which can be explored. So UART is one of them. It's a type of serial based communication. Just keep in mind that you will need a multimeter for now. Isopropyl alcohol. So for soldering you might need a set of isopropyl alcohol, because I mean it is generally used for proper soldering purposes, and the first and foremost thing is to do the soldering properly, and if there is some sort of lead which is spilled on the PCB, on the printed circuit board, so it will be used to clean it up. And it also means that you can clear your own printed circuit board chips on the printed circuit board. So it's just a very handy thing to have, and just don't drink it. And the next thing is the soldering iron. So it costs for around 100 bucks, which means around 1.1 euro, which is like 1 euro. And it costs at a very cheaper price, and it will be used for soldering purposes. So you guys might have observed that I was focusing on the price tag of these things as well. So this cost for around 197 rupees, plus this cost for 337 rupees, plus this cost for 654 rupees. So guys, our main important factor and the main focus of this lecture is to focus on building a inexpensive hardware hacking lab. So let us continue with that, and you guys can see how cheaper it is to buy these set of devices. Let me proceed further. Oops. Yeah. So next is the header pins. Now header pins are the most handy kind of pins, and everything which I say is important. So header pins are generally used to solder into some of the devices out there, which includes test pads. And when you actually solder it with the header pins, it gets easier for one to have the access to these kind of devices, and a serial console on these kind of devices, serial port, or suppose anything which you would like to say. So this costs around maximum 100 rupees. So 100 rupees means 1 euro, and it's like around, so when you add that number up, it goes around 854. Soldering flux. So soldering paste is something which will be required when that you don't burn up the devices, and it should not be something which, and I don't want you guys to burn up your hands. So soldering flux is also important. The soldering wire, of course, that's how you're gonna have the LEDs. Once you have the LEDs, which is costing around 616 rupees, so it's around that. So when you add that up, it's around 1315, and that's what we do. And so next thing is the soldering iron kit, which includes some soldering stand, some tweezers, some soldering flux, and some extra desoldering material and things like that, and a wire cutter as well. So next slide. Now this single most thing is something which we are going to utilize to do to do UART level attacks. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you guys might have found out in a lot of video lectures and in even some of the blogs out there, and even on YouTube, or even a lot of places, that this particular device, this USB to TTL connector, is the single most important and the most commonest device which is being used to do serial level attacks. Now, let me uh, surprise you. I'm not sure if surprise is a correct word, but let me insist you guys that UART, only single UART is not the only way to hack into devices. And UART generally is considered as the most hypothetical way where a pen test might take place, because where you might be able to exploit a device. I mean by that. So when you are actually using UART, then there are some people, especially into the embedded device world, saying that UART is not something which is very very important or even impressive sort of hardware hacking technique. I slightly agree with them. Reason being, every embedded engineer has actually worked on UART level attacks, has actually worked on UART level development. So it's not something which is very impressive, but still, I mean, it's there. So it's there. Now there is also something new which is called as Arduino. Now the Arduino is an 8-bit Arduino has an 8-bit Atmel chip in it, and it is actually used to, it's a microcontroller in general. So it is actually used, so you can just program it, just plug it in, program it, and then it will do the way you want to. You can just program it as a single board microcontroller. Since you guys are here, I am assuming that you guys might have seen at least some sort of Arduino in your college days or even somewhere. So I'm not going to discuss about Raspberry Pis because that will be too costly, and I'm going to keep this experimentative lab to be as low cost as possible for now. So this is the Arduino, and it will be used as a JTAG adapter. It will be used to do JTAG level things. There is a script which has to be flashed on the Arduino Uno, and that particular set of particular set of code can be used to do JTAG level attacks on an Arduino. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this particular piece of work is not very commonly used. And I'm sure after watching these videos, some people might be some people might be impressed and they might start using it, and it will become more and more common. So let's see, guys. Now this so this particular link actually explains about how to make a JTAG interface with an Arduino, and you can do a lot, perform a lot of JTAG level things when it comes to that, and we will be covering that in the later videos as well. Just keep on informing me, guys. So let me proceed. Yeah, SWD connector. Now this actually is written as STM32. So this is an STM32 based connector which is actually used to do serial level attacks as usual. It works in a slightly different manner because the protocol which is used here is SWD, which is serial wire debug. So it is in this context it is specifically for the STM32 based chips, and it will be used to program into STM32 based microcontrollers for per se, and we will be covering that as well. Now the breadboards. Breadboards are the most handy when you actually don't have proper soldering skills, and when you don't have proper soldering skills, you can use a breadboard just to shorten up into those wires, use some jumper wires, and then just proceed with whatever the experimentation which you are going to do. So the firmware tools. Now this might get a bit interesting here when I'm actually talking about a CS341A programmer, because CS341A programmer is a type of programmer which is used to program all of the ICs, and it is generally used to um, program or extract the firmware out of SOIC based chips, which I discussed in my previous videos. I suppose I explained about different types of chips which are there existing into the market. I'm going to discuss about what kind of chips they are and things like that, so stay tuned for that. And so this particular thing is a CS341A programmer. It's a programmer, and you can flash your own firmware on it. You can dump the firmware from a specific printed circuit board, and you can just use it to do malicious activities. So Arduino is covered, and yeah, was first most important thing is Arduino is a microcontroller. It's an open source hardware, works on 5 volts of current, and 3140. So that's the pricing. So it costs around rupees, ladies and gentlemen. So it's like 30 euros, 30 to 35 euros. So it's like 3594 rupees. So I mean, if we are trying to focus much more on the price factor, so that. So total money costed here is just $46, which costs around 44 or 45 euros per se. So ladies and gentlemen, you can do maximum hardware attacks with them. Now, the first most important thing which I'm going to tell you guys is we are going to begin with these set of attacks. We are going to begin with these set of tools. However, these set of tools are not the only set of tools which we will be using in our course lectures. Let me be clear with that. So we are going to proceed with this set of tools, but we are not going to be constrained to it. We will be using different kinds of software defined radios to do radio attacks. We are going to do Bluetooth level attacks. We are going to do advanced hardware hacking, which includes side channel attacks with a chip whisperer as well. I I accidentally disclose the name to you guys, and we're gonna do a lot of cool stuff with that. So that's it. I think we are done. So yeah, now let me take you guys towards the STM32 board. Now this STM32 board is a single most famous board for doing pen test activity, for doing programming when it comes to embedded systems. Now this is the most handy device to do pen testing of these devices. Works on 5 volt of current, and it's an open source hardware. This piece of hardware is optional to have, but we will be discussing some of the in some of the lectures that how these kind of devices will be used to hack into hack into a lot of chips out there. which includes doing firmware dumping, readout protection attacks, and things like that. Oops, I again disclosed something which was kept to be a secret. Now, the jumper wires. So jumper wires are also very handy. They will be required for you to dump into these wires and things like that to make connections and do UART level or serial level or any kind of attacks, because they are they are like the most essential part of hardware. So let me explain you guys about UART level attacks now. But before that, let me get back to you guys, because this video is getting very long, so I'm not gonna make it completely long video. I'll see you guys in the next video series, in the next video. Thanks.